Hey Trailblazers, today I want to address a bit of a myth or a belief around branding, and that is that branding is difficult, it's expensive, and you're not in the right place in your business to do it. And the reason why this myth exists is because branding can be expensive, it can be an upheaval, it can be something that stalls your business because so many business owners are trying to do it all at once instead of allowing themselves to progress through what I call the 3 stages of branding. And what happens is they try to make decisions around things in their brand that they're not in a place to do yet. So if you are just starting out, no, you should not go through an entire website build and signature brand project. So what I'd like to share with you today are the 3 stages of brand and how you can gracefully move through them so that as you're making the decisions and building your platform that really is going to be how you're going to be known in the world, that you can do that in a way that is efficient, that feels really authentic, and is going to get you the best results. So let's go ahead and switch over to my screen. All right. So there are, as I said, 3 stages of brand. Let me just grab a bigger, pencil here. Sorry about that. All right. So we got. All right. Just want to make sure that's coming through good. All right. So it looks a little bit like this. So the first stage is where we all begin. And this is probably the most painful stage of branding that you will experience. And it is called the experimental stage. And the experimental stage is the stage of brand where you're kind of like a college student trying to pick out their major. You're not really sure who your target audience is, or maybe you have an idea of them, but for some reason you just still can't get the language across in a way that people understand who you're talking about. You also might not be sure what problem you're going to solve because there are so many things you can do that you feel like you can help everyone. Or if someone comes to you with a problem, you know you're going to be able to figure it out. So it's very hard to decide what it is you're going to focus on for your brand. So the experimental stage it's the stage where you keep doing things over and over and over again. You redo your website over again. You redo the copy. You redo your elevator pitch probably a million times. You'll go to different networking events, and every time you talk about what you do, you feel like you're saying something different. This is the experimental stage, and the experimental stage can last forever, but I find that for most people, it lasts about 18 months. And this is when you're first starting your business. I'll tell you about the experimental stage later on, like when you're later and more established in your business as well, because you might revisit this. So it's not a one and done thing as anything with branding. So your experimental stage lasts about 18 months. And I believe that this is because when you start your business, you give yourself a year to kind of get things off the ground. About halfway through year 2, when things aren't getting better, you're getting deeper and deeper into that hole, that financial hole of investments, and you're still not getting traction. You start to realize, okay, I really need help with this, or I'm going to have to go get a job. I'm going to have to give up on this business idea. And that's when you get help. And as long as you have the right help, then you can get the pieces in place to make it to the next level. So in the experimental stage, if this is you, what you want to focus on right now is getting very, very clear on who you serve and what it is you do for them, and getting the messaging, which is basically how you're communicating that, to a level where people understand it right away and you're beginning to get clients. Then, once you're starting to get clients, then you're in the primordial stage. The primordial stage is a very fun stage of business because the primordial stage, once you've clicked into who you're serving, how you do it, and being able to who you serve and what you do for them, and being able to communicate in the way that people get it and want to buy it, your business is going to grow very quickly because you're going to be reaching the audience that you want to work with. People are going to be able to refer to you because they understand what it is you do in a way that they can communicate, and the list goes on and on. So the primordial stage is a fun stage. It's very, very fast growing. This is where you start to feel traction. You realize, okay, this was a good decision to get into business. And the primordial stage can last forever. There are many business owners and coaches that are in 6 figures, 7 figures, and they've never reached the third stage because primordial is a comfortable place to be. It feels like it allows you a little bit more flexibility. However, what happens in the primordial stage is the reason it's called primordial, which is as your business is growing and evolving, you're adding offers, you're adding different ways to explain what you do. You might be adding in additional target audiences because as you grow and build visibility, you are able to expand into other markets, etc. So what happens in the primordial stage is the Franken brand. So the Franken brand is, again, where you're still kind of explaining things differently depending on who you're talking to. So no one really ever gets solid on what you do. But you've gotten so good at talking about it that that person wants to hire you. And you'll find that you're probably getting a lot of different types of clients. Some of them are great fits, some of them maybe not so much. You might be offering something now that is different than before, but people are still sending you referrals for the old thing. That kind of thing. And the Frankenbrand piece also means visually. So you might have created your color palette, your logo, and your website all at different times, and there's no really through line between them. Or maybe as you've been adding products or programs, you're kind of doing them on an ad hoc basis, and there's nothing holding the brand together. So it's something that's just kind of constantly shifting and changing and growing, but we're still not in a solid recognizable brand. So if you're in the primordial phase, then where you're doing really well in your business, but you still couldn't answer the question like, what is my brand, really confidently. And so that's one way to know if you're in it. The other way to know if you're in it is if you are doing online marketing and you're still getting your clients through referrals, and you're not getting clients through your actual online marketing, then chances are you're in the primordial phase. So what you need to focus on is getting very, very clear on what is that through line. What is it that ties everything you do together, and choose that through line that you want to become known for. Once you've done that, then you're ready to move into the signature brand phase. So the signature brand phase is really where everyone wants to go. So the signature brand is recognizable, it is clear, it is something that you are confident and proud of. It's essentially your platform for what you want to be known for, and everything you do ties into the signature brand. And when you do that, you become an authority. Like, this is really where the authority factor comes in. When you see the really big brands, the 7-figure coaches that you admire, chances are they have a signature brand. They have something that they have elevated, they've created a platform on that has elevated them into that expert authority status. And it's actually not that difficult to do once you've done the primordial and the experimental stages. It's very difficult to go from all the way to the signature stage before you've done the other two, because it's all a part of the process, getting clear on who you are, what you do, what your talents are, what are the best ways to communicate. It takes time and testing. And the big companies, they have large budgets to do focus groups and testing different markets and testing different ads and language, et cetera, et cetera. But for the coach that's, really funding everything themselves, for the most part, you really start and move through these stages in order. So as you're going up the pyramid, you are building authority. So the more pieces that snap into place, the more authority you are going to build. As you go down and you move more toward the experimental, you're becoming a part of the noise. So this is where you're not really being seen, and you might be intimidated by all of the competition around you because you know that what you're doing is confusing, that no one really understands it because you haven't really landed on that brand. And just to show you that signature does not necessarily mean you're done, if you stay in one place, you're going to plateau. So even if you land on your signature brand, you're always going to be evolving and changing and adding new products and services, or finding a new way to present your products and services. But the difference is it's not done in a hodgepodge way. It's done with very focused intent and campaigns, and the shifts are much more subtle rather than being a complete overhaul, because you're not going to be rebranding yourself all the time, but your message is going to be evolving. So your brand is really this living, breathing thing that's not a list of things you need to check off, like logos, names, elevator pitch, whatever. It's something that is evolving and changing with you, and that's kind of a good thing because it makes it feel like your decisions are not so completely permanent that you can't, ever expand on what you want to do. So now that you know the 3 stages, there's one more thing that I want to share with you that I feel is important to note, is that this is not a linear progression. You generally don't move like right up. It's not like you make decisions and you move right to the signature brand. You actually do this in more of a spiral. So this is where I wanted to show you that even if you're at the signature level, you might revisit the experimental level every now and then. Because what happens is you have, as you're growing and evolving and changing, you're going to, when you add something in, you are going to go through that experimental stage, but you're going to do it much more quickly. So let's say I want to add a new offer. I haven't proven if that offer has not been sold yet by me, I haven't proven that my language works yet. Make sense? So if I'm creating a new sub-brand, then I'm going to start with the experimental, and you're just going to move through it much more quickly because you're able to test the language, you're able to test the branding much more quickly because you already have an audience. Right now, I'm going through a rebrand. It's been 10 years since I started my business, and I went right back to the experimental stage when I was doing the rebrand. Now, instead of taking years to get to a signature brand, it's only taking me a couple of months because I know how to make that progression because I've done it. I mean, I've done it myself, and I've also helped hundreds of coaches do it. So it's the learning curve. There's really no learning curve. It's much more quick. But it's still a spiral. That spiral looks like you make a decision, but it contradicts these other decisions. So you have to figure out how to tie it in. And so you keep doing that as you move up and up and up. One thing that I want you to take away from this is that if you're feeling like you're down here and you're stuck in the experimental primordial phase and you're not really sure how to elevate your authority, become really clear, etc., I want you to know that chances are you're actually very close. The majority of the people that I work with, when they come to me, they don't realize how close they are to having it. What happens is they have so many different choices that they get stuck in the spiral. And instead of the spiral, moving in a direction, it ends up being more of a circle where they kind of just keep revisiting the same things over and over again. What you need to do, if that's you, is you need to get it all out. You need to get all of it out of your mind. It might be through journaling. It might be through talking it out with someone that's an expert. But you need to get it all out on paper so that you can make defined decisions. Once you're able to make decisions, that's when you're able to break out of that closed spiral into making the next decision and the next decision and the next decision. So what I've done to help you with that is I have a program called the Branding Game. And if you're interested in getting help with making these decisions, getting all of the information out of your head in a way that you can actually use and get yourself, that extra 20% of the way there, like that means, like what I'm saying is most people are about 80% of the way there, getting yourself that extra 20% of the way there to land your brand so that you can, that wasn't supposed to be alliteration to the land a brand. That was funny. You can, sorry guys, I lost my train of thought there. So if you can make those decisions and land on your brand and move, if you're from the experimental stage, move to the primordial. If you're in the primordial stage, move to the signature, you're going to find that your results are going to be much, much better. I find that every time you make a leap, your income doubles or triples. So this is really, really important stuff. So if you want help bringing that all together and reaching the next level in your brand, then I would invite you to check out the Branding Game. You can go to thebrandinggame.com. All of the information is right there. If you have any questions about it, just shoot me an email and we can talk about it. So I hope you have an awesome day and I hope that this video was helpful. See you soon. Bye.